This is the South Carolina legislator in 1868, just 3 years after slavery ended. This is the Alabama legislator in 1872, 7 years after slavery ended. These are black Alabama senators, so called, around that same time in multiple states in the South. This is Louisiana in 1868, 3 years after slavery ended. Oh, one other thing. This is the state of Mississippi, 1874, just 7 years after slavery ended. May look like a lot of white tea folks, but most of this area is black folks, so-called, and some of those. So let's get this straight. Within a few years, and even further, of us coming out of so-called slavery, being downtrodden, no education, no school, you can't read, you don't know what's going on, you got to read a newspaper, at least figure that out. There's no TV, there's no telephone like that. But somehow the black slaves were able to go to all of these polls and outvote white people on all of these elections as if they knew who each candidate was and what they were fighting for in every election, even though they can't read and don't know much from the slavery days of just picking cotton and fruits and shit like that. And then on top of that, now that's just the people voting. Notice it's not 98 Negroes versus 57 whites in South Carolina in the legislature. Almost over half of these people are black. You got to get in close. It's the lighting. But coming in close, you really get to see what you're looking at here. A lot of blacks, some mulattoes, and some white tees on the other side. And even on this, you got senators in multiple states. You got one of them from Alabama, MC Turner from Alabama. You got a senator from Mississippi. And notice the hair difference in some of them, or the super slicked out hair. Now, these could be mulattoes, especially being in Mississippi, one of them. He could be a Creole. Alabama, though, I don't know. Also, you got Florida. You have South Carolina and South Carolina. Now, notice the hair. And now, of course, these are drawings, but people knew how to do their hair, and having it really slick, which ain't hard. You just put some gel in it. You know what I'm saying? We just don't do those hairstyles today. Was the thing. Or, hot comb it out, or whatever the case. Indian practices. But either way, I haven't done much research into this, but I just wanted to present this to give you something to think about, as well as something for my future to research on. How could this happen? Think about it. Not only do you have all these people coming out of slavery who had to vote these people in, but you would also need a lot of black people who are well polished enough, who are learned men, right? Well educated, as if y'all would call it, who likely have some type of status and wealth to a degree, likely landowners of some sort, to be able to get this many men in Congress. Think about this. That's 100 people just in this South Carolina, 98. Look at all these people in Louisiana. He ends up becoming the governor, and they unalived him. Also, a story goes that in one of these areas, and in many of them, they unalived a lot of our people. Now, it's one thing to get mad about them unaliving a bunch of people from being slaves and you want your restitution, whatever. It's another thing to know that you had goddamn power in multiple states in the entire South, and they took out your fucking leaders.
More than a century and a half later, the original 33 black legislators in Georgia are being memorialized. At WJCL 22 News' Andy Cole joins us now live. Andy, you found out they're going to be honored all across the state.
Yeah, Greg, now that the original 33 Memorial Act was passed and signed into law by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, State Representative Carl Gilliard is moving fast to make his dream a reality. For far too long, says State Representative Carl Gilliard, the original 33 have gone unnoticed.
They decided to run for office. They were black Republicans after Reconstruction. They won the election, representing all the counties across Georgia, and unfortunately, in 1868, they were not allowed to serve. They were expelled because of the color of their skin.
The group, many of the ministers, were persecuted for simply living and wanting to serve their state.
In 1870, they were reinstated, but to the point of a loss of life and to be ridiculed and scandaled. 14 of them were lynched.
That's why, over the last 5 years, Gilliard has been working diligently to pass a bill memorializing the group. This week, it all paid off.
I know this is something that Carl worked very hard on. He's also very proud of this accomplishment, and we're proud to celebrate that with you. Congratulations, Representative.
After receiving unanimous votes in both the House and Senate, Gilliard's bill was signed into law by Governor Kemp Thursday.
This, for me, is an humbling experience because we serve on the shoulders of giants. We're nothing compared to what these men had to sacrifice.
Now, of course, that angered me. Very much so. And then, of course, when you go and look at states like Mississippi, later, barely 10 to 15 years later, the only black person you're going to find on here is this guy right here. When just not long ago, all these people, lots of them here, lots of them here, some of them here, were in office. Now, you also got to think about time frames too. YT folks didn't even get to the area of Mississippi, Alabama, and all that until after the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. They didn't become states until like 1817, 1820-ish for each one, Alabama, Mississippi, and stuff like that. Who had power at that time? Who was in office during slavery times? Was it, well, technically, it was all Indian territory prior to that, and these people are the Indians that were there. But let's just think about it a different way. If the YT folks get there around 1820, that means there had to be some form of government going on between 1820 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 74 today. Not today, but today, this picture. Who was in government in those years? And they had government because there were censuses done in those areas around that time. So I know they had to have some form of government. That whole Reconstruction thing, in my opinion, is some bull. In my opinion, at least the story they told was some bull. They did reconstruct. But it's like the YT folks came in, flooded the zone with YTs, came in, expelled us out. No kind of vote was likely even took place. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it. It could have. I need to look into the story. But I just don't believe these people. There's no good reason that we should have all these people in office after just coming out of slavery in Indian territories that were major Indian territories from 1803 all the way back. So the whole slaves showing up from 1700, 1600, all the way, that wasn't in this zone. That was in the colonies. What was happening in the South were these people. And the Indians only claimed that they owned certain tribes, only had 1,000 of us. But there was hundreds, if not millions of us, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in the South alone. They be playing.